Jacoby's preparation over the course of the week?
Yeah, I think it's been great. I mean, he's a pro. He's done this for a long time. He's been around a lot of great coaches and a lot of great players. So it's been fun to be a part of his process and to try to help him in that process. But he's very diligent in his preparation, works extremely hard at it. So it's been a good week.
What is it about his style or skill set that makes him a good fit for what you guys try to do schematically?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the decision making. I think he sees the field well. I think he knows where to go with the ball. He knows what the defense is trying to do. And he understands our offense from hey, this is why we're calling that player. This is why we're trying to do that. So he really plays well within the confines of the offense, which I think it really helps us operate.
Of keeping 4 in the room?
That one's a little bit above my head. I mean, I think my job is to make them all, capable. I think, and I tell those guys at the beginning of training camp, my goal is for everybody in this room to be on an active roster and playing in this league for a long time. So I don't know exactly when into the final decision to keep 2, 3, 4. But certainly that's my goal, is to always make those guys feel like they're ready to play when we start and go through camp.
To Amari Cooper yesterday, he spoke in terms of fireworks for this offense. So just wondering, I mean, do you think there's a lot of excitement that people can expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think any time you start the season, you get excited, right? To see what you got, how good you're going to be, what you need to work on, what you're already good at. I'd say our number one goal is to score one more point than the other team. If that's fireworks to do it, if that's 5 points to do it, I'll take it. But yeah, no, certainly excited about the guys we got in the room and looking forward to seeing them go play on Sunday.
What are you doing about Kellen in a short period of time here?
I think he fits really well in the room. He's got a great personality. I think football is very important to him. So he came in right away and started to learn the playbook. It's funny, he's been in systems that are very similar to ours from a language perspective, so I think that sped up his learning curve a little bit. So he's been able to jump into more than just the kind of the basics that you'd expect from a guy who's coming in at that point. So he's been great to work with.
I don't know if it's Kevin or Glenn Cook described him as like a developmental guy. Obviously, he hasn't played much. But so how do you go about developing a guy when there's not a whole lot of reps once you get to the regular season?
Yeah, I think we spend a lot of time in terms of, and this is an organizational belief in terms of how we manage that. So it's finding time to get him the reps and talk through the technique and watch the tape. And sometimes that's after practice. Sometimes that's additional meeting time. Sometimes that's giving him projects to do on his own. And having guys that are motivated and willing to put in that extra time is really important to development and to being part of that role. And so that's kind of something when you get a guy, you're like, all right, hey, where does he need to improve? How do we feel like we can best attack that? And then where do we find time in the day to do that? Obviously, with the focus still being on winning on Sunday and focused on the day-to-day of the game week.
About this Carolina defense and how they're so aggressive and attacking and what you guys are going to have to do.
Yeah, it's a really talented group. The scheme presents a lot of unique challenges. As you said, they like to bring pressure, but they have a lot of complements to it. So they do a lot of things really well. Going to be really important that we kind of are all on the same page and we know what we're trying to do and who we're attacking, because it can change throughout the course of the game. And they do a really nice job of trying to keep you off balance, and it's going to be a tough challenge for us.
How did he prove to you guys that he was ready to be the number 2? And was that a surprise at all, given he had never really been in that role much?
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's a surprise so much, because you see it from the day-to-day in terms of the way he talks about the game, the way he operates at practice, the way he runs the huddle. But I think anytime the lights are on, you're looking kind of for that extended performance, right? So that in his role, he's never had a chance to go, hey, maybe play 3 straight quarters or really be the guy for more than a half or a couple series. So I think it was great to see him over a 2 or 3 week period have that success when the lights were on. I think that was really important for us and really important for him to be able to put that on tape.
Jacoby's really even keel and has been through a lot, but do you sense an excitement from him now that we're finally here?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly do. I think anytime, he's a competitor, he loves the game. So I think he's really embracing the role and the chance to be the guy, and I think I'm really excited to go see him do that.
It seems like these guys have just kind of really gravitated towards him, and they say he's funny, and he says they only think he's funny because he's older than them. I guess, what have you witnessed from him personality-wise that makes him able to step into that leadership role with the new group here?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, and I think he's embraced that role, being in that kind of new position, and his personality certainly lends it to that. I mean, you guys have been around him a little bit. He's a great guy, very easy to talk to, but also has that sarcastic sense of humor that keeps things light, doesn't overreact to situations, and I think he relates really well to guys, kind of young guys, old guys. He's kind of in that perfect middle ground where he can still relate to the young guys, but he has that kind of older, been around, have some experience type personality, which I think is awesome.
Do you find that you can do anything that you need to do offensively with Jacoby running the show in terms of stretching the defense or underneath stuff or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I mean, he's capable of doing it all, whether it's playing on the move, playing from the pocket, throwing the ball deep down the field, checking it down underneath. I think that really opens up our playbook in that sense. And then I think the important part for us is to, hey, you can do it all, but let's do what our guys are good at. Let's do what he's excelled at. Let's try to focus on those things as we go through the season rather than just because he can do it all, trying to do it all. So that's really important.
Room with Jacoby, who's a veteran, Dobbs, even though he hasn't played for a little while. How much are there times when you just kind of get out of the way and let those guys kind of work and kind of coach each other up?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a very open room. Like, I want their opinions. I want to know what they're thinking. I want to know what they see. Certainly, they also want to know what we're thinking. Like, hey, why is this play in? What are we thinking? What are we attacking? So there's a big give and take in the room. And I've always told those guys in this room, the closer we get to game day, the less I'm going to talk to you. Like, I'm going to coach you up during the week, but Sunday's about the players. So I want those guys to feel comfortable that they got to take ownership by the time they reach the game, because when we're not out there on Sunday. So I think it's been great, and I think those guys really embrace that, and they do see the field really well and communicate the game well, which is important.
Do you have a philosophy on? Do you have a philosophy on, if you decide to use some of a Joshua Dobbs package, the impact that might have on the starting quarterback having to, maybe come out for a play or two here or there? Do you have any kind of a preference for doing that or not doing that?
I'd say that preference is always going to be based on who that starter is and his comfort level with it. So, ultimately that offense is going to run through that player, in this case, Jacoby. So we're not going to do things he's not comfortable with. And certainly that's a conversation that would take place as we do anything in our offense, whether it's related to a personnel package or a scheme. That's got to stay, I think, forefront in our minds as we kind of build that throughout the season.
Is Jacoby someone that could handle that kind of back and forth, in and out sort of thing if it happened?
I think ultimately he'd probably be better to answer that. I'd also tell you we probably would never answer that publicly. No, I think he's the type of guy, and I think throughout his career he's handled just about every situation thrown at him. He's very unflappable in that way, whether it's the way we operate the substitution package or the way you operate your offense. I think that's what makes him such a great player for this role in this offense.